Hey guys, welcome to Learn JS with John, episode 2. Alright, so in the last episode we had a very brief introduction to JavaScript and we did a sample JavaScript with HTML. And what we did was we did an alert. We can still run this and see from the last example we did hello John, I am your JS alert. We did a brief introduction to JavaScript, yes, but for today, for this video, we are going to be talking more into the details. Um, JavaScript syntax, what a basic JavaScript code should look like, or should contain. Yes, what basic JavaScript code should contain. Values, what kind of values are we expecting to see in any JavaScript code, variables and operators, and also comments. Now all these put together are like important things that we should take note of for JavaScript. Okay, and remember, I do not know it all. I am just learning and putting it out here for you to learn also. Do not forget this because we are all learning together. Anyways, let's go on. Now, the goal of this lesson is for us to, at the end, be able to understand JavaScript syntax. That is, when you see a block of code, you should go through it from top to bottom and understand what exactly this block of code does. You, without even having to read comments, you should be able to say, okay, this is what this code requires to run, and this is what it does at the end of the day. So that is the goal of this lesson: be able to read code and understand what it does. Now, you may not entirely be able to write code at the end of this lesson, but you should be able to see a block of code, check out for the values, the operations, the operators, the comments and all, and be able to say, okay, this is what this block of code does. I can understand it and also explain to someone else. All right, so let's go straight to work. JavaScript syntax. Now, for every JavaScript program you come across, we are going you would be seeing variables created, and also you'll be seeing them in use. That is, people, the programmers would create variables. For example, like we have here variable x, and then they would also use those variables by assigning values to them. So the values can be in numbers, it can be in digits rather, or alphabet, that is strings. So different 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 poison for different people. So every as a person, you can choose whatever type of variable you want to create and what type of value you want to assign to it. For example, here I have created variable x, I've created variable y, I've created variable z, and I've also assigned different values to the three variables. So it just depends on what exactly you want. You can create any type of variable, you can create anything you want to create depending on what exactly you want to use it for. Okay, so I'm going to go straight to the code to explain this the code way, so you get to understand what I am saying and also try it out yourself. Okay, so let's go to our VS code. All right, here we are. Now, before we go ahead, I actually want to correct something. It is not ideal for you to have your JavaScript code in the same file as your HTML code. Okay, so yes, you can, it works fine. Okay, you can do it, but for your code to be more readable, for it to be readable, and also for someone else to come in and easily manage your code, you have to like separate your JavaScript files from your HTML. Okay, so we are just going to create a new file, and we're going to name that learning js. This .js is the extension for JavaScript generally. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter there. Now this is empty. What we'll do is I'm going to copy this alert from our HTML file, paste it in here and save. and then here we're going to add another option here. We're going to call it src. This means source, and we'll just put learning js.js. So this automatically links if I click this, it's going to take us here. So this automatically links the JavaScript file to your HTML file. So you can take this out. I explained this was for lower versions before HTML5. So save this. I'd like us to change the content of this before we run it. So what do we do? I am learning JavaScript. Save, and then I'm going to run. Okay, so when I run this page says I am learning JavaScript. So we have successfully moved our JavaScript code to a different file, so we don't have to interfere with we don't have to come back here to do any changes again. Okay, so back to learning JS. Now we want to try out JavaScript syntax using creating variables and using them. Okay, so I'm going to start with var as variable, and I'm going to call this first variable. Now JavaScript is case sensitive. This means that first variable called this way and var first variable are two different things. Okay, now they are the same spelling, they are the same word, but the fact that I have a v in uppercase here differentiates them. Now these two are the same, but these two are not the same. Okay, so let's just make this. Okay, so I'm going to take out this alias from here. I'm going to say variable, first variable, and I'm going to assign something to it. First variable equals my first variable. And this is what JavaScript is basically about, creating and using. Okay, so now this is already in use, so I'm going to say alert first variable. So we are doing basically what we did before on one line in 3 lines now. So now we are alerting the first variable, which is my first variable. So if I run my HTML file, I'm expecting to see my first variable as the alert. So I'm going to run that, and we are seeing my first variable. So that is what it means to create and use variables in JavaScript, and that is what JavaScript syntax is basically about. So it is simple, right? Create a variable and use it. Okay, we can do one more example. I'm going to change this to a number. Okay, 2001512, right? So if we run, if we refresh this page, we're getting that value. So whatever you assign to a variable is what stays in that variable until you assign something else to it. So it's very simple. Create a variable, use the variable. Create a variable, use the variable. You can go ahead and try this with as many different type of data you want to as you please. Okay, so try it out, and I think I would like it if you just take a screenshot of what you tried out. That's the screenshot of your code and the screenshot of your output. Yeah, and drop it in the comment section so I can know that you are getting exactly what we expect you to get. Alright, so we're going to move on from that. Now the next is JavaScript values. JavaScript has two types of values. You have fixed values and variable values. Now, fixed values are values that cannot change. Okay, like you cannot change them. The moment you put them there, you cannot change them. So, for example, remember we had previously just alert sample value. Now this value here cannot change. Okay, you may want to say, okay, I want to alert something else. I don't want to alert sample value. You can't change that. You already set it in the code. It will not change no matter what you do. Okay, so that is what fixed values are. Now, variable values are values that you can create, use, reuse, change, modify, whatever you want to do to them. For example, remember we did this where we changed first variable to 200 yeah. So I can always assign something else to that, 4,000, 40,000, or anything. So I can easily change this to say this is my first variable and just return first variable here. Okay, if I run this, I'll get exactly what is contained in this variable. Now I can change this as I please, right? I can add another, I can add a set of code here. Okay, um, let's say variable second because I'm not needed here. Okay, and say first variable equals second. Okay, and save, and then refresh my page. Now I would get I am not needed here. So variables allow you to change their value as you please. Okay, so for fixed variables you cannot change, and I would not advise you to have too many of this in your code. But for variable values, yes, you can use this whenever and however you please. Okay guys, so that's all about JS values for now, and let's move on to the next JavaScript operators. Okay, so we have basic um, operators. I think I should have started with the first one. So the most important operator that you should always take note of is the equal to sign. Okay, so this is the first and most important operator, equal to. Now I'll explain why it is that important. Okay, so let's go to our code. Yeah. Now you can see that whenever you need to assign a value to a variable, you have to use the equal to sign. Okay, so this says that this is what this contains. Okay, so your equal to sign is the assignment operator. It is called the assignment operator. I think I should write it. So this is assignment operator. So you use it to assign values to variables. You use this to assign values to variables. Okay, so now the next up is the addition operator. Okay, so addition operator allows you add two values. For example, I'm going to have 24 and 17. Okay, so I'm going to say first variable equals first plus second. So what we're doing is we are adding 17 to 24. So I'm going to do something else here. This one is now. I'm going to explain what is going on here. For now, let's just understand what happens here. So we're adding 17 the first and 24 the second. So I'm going to I'll save that and run this. Response is 41. So if we use a calculator and we do 17 plus 24, 41 is actually correct. So the assignment, the plus sign is the addition operator for numbers. Now for strings, that is for when we have two strings, like we have, for example, if we have John is learning JavaScript, okay, and we have with friends on YouTube, okay. Now what will happen here is JavaScript will add John is learning JavaScript to with friends on YouTube to make a sentence, okay. So if we run this now, we're going to have one sentence that says John is learning JavaScript with friends on YouTube. So I'm going to go back here and click OK and refresh. Now you can see we have John is learning JavaScript with friends on YouTube. So the addition sign for for numbers does regular addition, and then for strings does concatenation. Concatenation means putting a string, having a string and adding another string to the end of that, to the end of the first string. So that is why we have on our code here we have John is learning, and if we switch the places here, that is we bring second first and we add first to it. Now you should understand what will happen at this point. We're going to have with friends on YouTube come before John is learning JavaScript. So I'm just going to go back to the page and reload. With friends on YouTube, John is learning JavaScript. So concatenation happens when you use the addition sign for strings. Now if we have a string, I'm sure you're asking yourself that question already. That okay, what if I have John is learning JavaScript, and then the second variable, instead of having another string, has a set of numbers. Let's say the year JavaScript was created, which is 1995. Okay, and we save this. Now what will happen is we're going to have concatenation again. Okay, so this time we're going to have John is learning JavaScript 1995. Now the reason why we have concatenation is because this is a string, okay, and this is a number. Okay, if we have another number, let's say variable third, okay, equals 2001, and then we add plus third is learning JavaScript 1995 2001 and put it on one sentence. Now the reason why is because there's a string already, so by default JavaScript assigns, makes this first variable a string and then concatenates this string, this and this. Now it doesn't do 1995 plus 2001, it just does 1995 and 2001. Now in further lessons we'll actually understand why that happens and how we can make it do an addition of these second and third variables instead of just passing as a string. So I'm going to go back to the page and refresh. Now we're going to have John is learning JavaScript 1995 2001. Okay, so very fast I'm going to allow you to try out the subtraction, multiplication and division operations by yourself on numbers only. So it means that your code is going to have something like second minus third, or second divide by third, or second times. Now this asterisk sign is what we use for multiplication. So instead of having x, you're having asterisk. That is for multiplication. So I want you to like try this out on your own and let me know the results you get. Okay, so I'll be stopping there for operations, and then I'll move on to keywords. Now, keywords are words that you can't use as variable names. Okay, so you cannot have let as a variable name in your code, same as var and const. Now, the reason why you cannot have this is because these are words dedicated um, for creating variables in JavaScript. So it means that when I want to create a variable, I have either var or const. Okay, this is constant, or let. Now I can't use this as a variable name for JavaScript. So for example, if I say var JavaScript by default is going to say var is not allowed as variable declaration name. So you really cannot use these keywords for variable declaration. Okay, so I think same for let. Okay, you can actually say var let. You can't say var const because it is used for variable. So let is the only keyword exempted for you. So you can actually have let here and then say second plus let, or you can assign let to be equals to 200. Okay, and if you run this, I'll go here and refresh. Okay, and then we are going to be having 2195. So that is about um, keywords. So guys, that will be all for keywords. Remember, keywords are used to declare variables in Java. So you have the keyword, and then you have the name of the variable you want to declare. So I'll be moving on to the next, which is final part comments. So remember, as I mentioned at the beginning, that your codes get more readable when you have comments, or the codes are more readable when you have comments. So we're going to have a comment now. So let's say return first. So home account number and second for customer name. Allow to display name and account number. Okay, so now this is a comment. Okay, or this is a two-line comment. Now when you open, if for example it's your first time seeing my code, and you just click on this, and then you just see, okay, created first to the account number and second for customer name, they are allowed to display the name and account number. So I'm changing this to account number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and then second is the account name. Okay, so I'm going to edit this block of code so that it does exactly what we said. Okay, so second plus first. So I want to add to my alert, it says the user requested is the customer rather, then add a plus there. So what it is, we're telling whoever opens this learning JS code that the variable first would hold the account number, right? And then second holds the customer name, and the alert is supposed to display the name and account number. So if we run this, I'm sure you already understand what this plus sign means at this point. It means I'm concatenating these two strings. Okay, so if we run a refresh here, we should be getting customer requested is John Doe and the account number. Okay, so comments literally help reading your code better. Now we have two types of comments. We have single line and multiple line comments. So I have used the single line comments, which is this that we have here. Okay. Then now I have two lines and I had to like manually input this double slash um, twice. But if I wanted to have multiple line comments, I can just have a star here. Okay, now this is going to allow me have as many lines of comments as I want, and at the end I just add my closing, so I can have as many lines of comments as I want to have. I want to invent this so we know where it's taking. So I can have blah 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 blah. I can keep typing between the open and close instead of having to add the double slash manually. So that's about comments, and this is the step 2 of basics of JavaScript. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, and please I'd like you to like, subscribe, and drop your comments. Remember to try out the other operations and also try out concatenation. Make sure you try out every single thing you've done in this video so that you can learn fast and be able to understand and read basic JavaScript code. So like I explained, our goal for this class was for us to be able to read and understand what a block of code does. So I'm sure looking at this now, you can read and understand what it is. So we have variable first variable which does nothing at this point, and then we have first that holds number, we have second that holds email, and then in the comments it says here that we created first to hold account number and second for customer name. Now your comments can be more detailed, but this is just like a sample comment. Okay, and alert would display name and account number. Then we have the variables, we have the concatenation here that assigns second and first to first variable, and then we have the alert that says the customer requested is first variable, which displays this name and account number. So you basically understand how to read basic JavaScript code at this point. So I'm going to leave you to try out every other thing yourself. Thank you so much for your time, and see you in the next video.